Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And it's so nice to be back in this chair. I was in Dallas over the weekend, so I've got all of these meditation books right here, and I'm getting ready to sit down and read some for you guys, and then I will tell you what I think about the meditations like I do often. Oh! The dogs only ever come up here during my Peterisms videos, which is so crazy. Don't you, Tucker? And they have cute little bandanas on, and they're so excited. They're so happy to be home. Aren't you, Tucker? He said, yeah, but they're really, really tired. Come here. Come here, Boo Radley. He said, I want to be in the video too, Dad. So they're so happy to be home, aren't you guys? You smell so good, too. They got they got baths and grooms and nail trims. Look at your nails, look so nice. Yeah. And we're gonna have dinner in just a little bit. Dinner, yeah, we're gonna have dinner in just a little bit. Okay, but first we're gonna read some meditations. So, are you guys ready? Oh, Boo Radley is back there scratching already. I always miss my dog so much while I'm gone. And it's even harder now, you know, with Pee-Pee gone when I come home because Did you get your area back there, Boo Radley? It's even harder now when I come home because I was so used to picking up, you know, the dogs with Pee-Pee for so long. And now, just to like bring them home, it's a completely different situation. But we're getting used to it, aren't we? Yeah, we're getting used to it. But as much as I love to go on vacation, I have to say that it makes me so happy then when I get to come home and be with my dogs again. I always miss my dogs so much when I'm on vacation. Okay, so are you ready to read some meditations? Yeah, it's been a couple days for me too. So let's get into this. I'm gonna read first from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations. It is February 17th. So let's read from this while Boo Radley is back there and he is digging. Spirituality in action. The fact that I can plant a seed and it becomes a flower, share a bit of knowledge and it becomes another's, smile at... Boo Radley, I can't focus, buddy. I love you, but I can't focus. Boo Radley, you want to come up here and sit up here? You want to go sit up here, sweetie? Okay. Spirituality in action. The fact that I can plant a seed and it becomes a flower, share a bit of knowledge and it becomes another's, I know. Smile at someone and receive a smile to return are to me continual spiritual exercises. Leo Buscaglia. Leo Buscaglia he wrote, I told you I can't focus when Boo Radley is doing that back there. He wrote a book years and years ago, God, like 30, 50 years ago, something about love, I can't remember. But anyway, it was one of my mom's favorite books. We can express our spirituality in many different ways and in many different places and times. We don't have to wait until we're at a place of formal worship to exercise our spirituality. Every moment that we are alive and aware is an opportunity to acknowledge and express our connection to other people and to the world. I will be open to experiences with other people and with nature today, recognizing the miracle of life and my place in it. I think it's an interesting meditation. You know, I think that there was this idea, okay, you know what, I was thinking about like the idea of prayer, and I know that per a lot of people's religions, they feel like they need to be on their knees to pray, you know, and I understand that, and being in recovery, there are a lot of friends of mine that feel similar to that, and there was a time that I really felt focused when I did that. I don't feel that way today. I feel like I am constantly having, you know, conscious conversations with my higher power, and that can be, you know, while I'm driving, or in the shower, or while I'm just walking around the house, or if I'm like walking down the street or whatever. The other thing I think is interesting, and I saw a bumper sticker years ago. I wish that I knew exactly how it was said, because whenever I try to remember this, I'm always like, oh, it's not exactly right. But the saying is, like, you don't have to be, and it was referring to Christianity. Like, a car doesn't have to be in a garage to be a car, and a Christian doesn't have to be in church to be a Christian. And I think that it's an interesting sentiment, you know, that I think we often think, well, if I'm a spiritual person, then I have to, you know, like wear a red string of Kabbalism, or go to a church actively, or be involved, or, you know, go to temple, or whatever it is for that religious belief, which I think that's fantastic if people want to do that. And I always support my friends and family who are involved in whatever religious organizations they want to be involved in, as long as I think that they are positive religious organizations that aren't, you know, condemning or hurting others. But, you know, and I'm real open to having conversations with other people. But my spirituality is not of a religious nature. Look at Tucker. He is so tired. This is so cute. He never just like lays down. He's like laying down right on top of the books. But my spirituality is not of a religious nature. Is Boo Radley laying down too? They are both, oh my God, they're both laying down. That's so cute. They are, you guys, can you see? I'm trying to move over. Oh, they're so sweet. I miss them so much when I was gone. But you know, my spirituality is not of a religious nature whatsoever. This is gonna drive me crazy. You guys are so used to all of this craziness at this point. So I kind of like carry it with me wherever I am, you know? Now my mother, who is somebody that was a very strong faith, you know, she found a lot of what she was looking for in a church. And she was very involved in her church. I wouldn't say she was a Bible thumper, but she was very involved in her church. She found community in her church. One of my mom's favorite church services that she went to was this Sunday, and it was a service, and it was also a Christmas Eve service that she really loved, where it was all hymns. My mother received, I would say, a lot of spirituality through hymns, through music. And for me, you know, like I said to my mom one night, we were having a conversation about it, and she was like, I just wish that you would go to church with me sometime, you know, blah, 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 whatever. Now, she would kind of push the issue at times with me, not because she wanted me to be saved or whatever, you know, just because I think she got lonely going to church by herself and she wanted somebody to go with her. And I said, you know, Mom, I said, I get so much spirituality just like driving through a summer night with the windows down, listening to like, Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man from Bob Dylan. Like that to me is a spiritual moment sometimes. You know, it's a spiritual moment for me to just like, you know, walk laughing through my friend's yard and barefoot on the grass in the summer, you know, or walking out into a really crisp, this is another way that like nature to me is spirituality, you know, or, you know, walking into, you know, a crisp winter night, you know, and looking up at all the stars and just seeing, I think, the world's majesty, so to speak. You know, there's many, many different ways that I feel spiritual. I feel full of spirit. I feel full of soul in that moment. Many, many moments, you know. My husband and I got laughing so hard this weekend and just in the hotel room over something stupid, you know. And it was at the end of my vlog not last night, so it will be up tonight, but the night before. And, Boo Radley, he said, I decided that I wanted to come on and say hello. And now Tucker said he wanted to say hello too. But we got laughing over something so stupid. So I was trying to film my vlog and my husband was mooning me, okay? And we just got laughing so hard. And have you ever laughed so hard? Like after the video was over, we just like lost it laughing. Have you ever laughed so hard it almost feels spiritual? It was kind of like that kind of moment. And it was just such a fantastic moment, you know? It was interesting because we went out this weekend and we went with a friend of ours that I had, like, was Alex's friend when I first met Alex, and then we were, like, all three of us would go out a lot and stuff, and so he took us around to a lot of places, like, a lot of bars. We went out on a Saturday night and on Thursday night, and we had such a great time on Saturday night, and he said to me, you know, like we were out and I saw so many people drinking and things like that, you know, and he said to me, he was like, you know, one of the first things I always remembered about you was how much fun you could be and how much fun you could have without drinking. And it's like, I almost have more fun, you know, than I did when I was drinking. My fun when I was drinking was like muted, and now it's like, it's just like, it's pure fun and laughter and dancing and energy, you know, I just love it. So I think it's important to acknowledge that as a person in sobriety, that we're not a glum lot, you know, that we can have fun and we don't have to like get sober and it ends right there. And for me, laughter and having good times and fun and enjoying life is spiritual. That is spiritual for me. I feel like my higher power gave me this life to enjoy, you know. Recently, I saw this interview, well, probably not recently, 6 months ago, I talked about it on here. Maybe I talked about it on my vlog, I don't know. But I saw this interview with Oprah and RuPaul. Go watch it, it's fantastic. And Oprah asked RuPaul what, you know, RuPaul thinks is the meaning of life. And in it, he says that he believes the meaning of life is to, like, be kind to others, be compassionate, learn as many lessons as you can, but at the end of the day, have as much fun as you possibly can. Good fun, good healthy fun in this, you know, body and this life that was presented to you by God. And I think that that's such an amazing way to look, you know, at the world and at life, that maybe it's not so deep. You know, maybe it's not about becoming this extremely introspective person. You know, that's great. There's moments for that too. And I think you guys know, obviously, I have a channel dedicated to that. I am that person at times. But I think it's also, there's a point to having so much fun too, you know, and just really enjoying the day. And I think it's important. Okay, Boo Radley, you pick the next book. Which one should we read? He said, oh, I'm ready for dinner and a nap. Don't ask me to make such decisions. You pick it, Tucker. Which one? Oh, he picked Nightlight by Amy Dean. You're so good at this picking books out thing. Okay, February 17th. Let's see. February 17th. We must constantly build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. Martin Luther King Jr. Always when I'm reading, does this little one back here. He's like, this is what my back feels like right now. The definition of courage is the ability to conquer fear or despair. In the past, we may have been called courageous because we stayed in circumstances that were difficult or nearly unbearable. We may have felt that walking away from family, children, or friends was cowardly or displayed weakness. We may have felt that by holding back our tears, we were a stronger people. Yet all the things we may have viewed as weakness are really signs of courage. All the things we believed to be acts of courage were really not courageous at all. If we walked away from difficult or unbearable circumstances, we would be conquering despair. If we cried, we would have been courageous by letting go of our fear, pain, or sadness. Courage doesn't mean putting ourselves in stressful or unpleasant situations. Courage doesn't mean controlling our emotions. Courage is the ability to strengthen ourselves against the fear and despair of life, rather than be drowned by it. What have I done today that took courage? I think my phone is ringing. Oh, it is. It's my good Judy Tanya Jean. What have I done today that took courage? I can be grateful for my courage and strengthen it. I think it's such an interesting concept, the idea of courage, you know, and I have to say, like, the first time that I was ever introduced to courage was when I was a kid watching, you know, The Wizard of Oz. Boo Radley. Boo Radley, you're driving me crazy today. Did you find your spot? Can you see it? You know, I think the first time that I was introduced to the idea of courage was in The Wizard of Oz, you know, with the Cowardly Lion. And so when we think about that, we think about the opposite of being courageous is being cowardly. And I don't know that I necessarily think that that's true. I've met a lot of people in my life, you know, that have climbed mountains and have traveled far and wide and backpacked through countries that I've never been to and lead rather adventurous lives. But emotionally, I don't feel like they've really traveled very far at all, you know? Like, I'll sit there and have a conversation with them and they just sometimes seem rather flat. And I think that courage sometimes comes from identifying, like the book said, your fears, your insecurities, those things that hold you back. And I think one of the greatest fears that we will ever face on this earth is allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, allowing ourselves to open up to another human being, allowing ourselves to, you know, tell our story, allowing ourselves to get close to other human beings and let them in. You know, it's always sad to me whenever I hear like somebody go through a breakup and they'll say, I'm never going to date again or whatever. And I have actually said that in my vlogs, that like I didn't know that if Alex and I broke up that I would get in a relationship again. But it's not because of fear of being in a relationship. It's because honestly, it's a lot of work, you know, to get into a relationship and go through I'm not a good dater. I'm just not, okay? And going through the dates and then, you know, like, are we exclusive? Are we not? And then, you know, meeting their families and meeting their friends. It's just a lot, you know what I mean? And so I'm working as hard as I can on keeping this relationship so I don't have to go through that again, you know? But I have friends of mine that they'll go through a breakup and then they'll say, I'm just never going to date anybody again because everybody out there just wants to screw you over. And I'm like, no, I don't believe that. I really don't, you know? I was actually talking to somebody the other day and they said to me, all men are assholes. And I said, no, not all men are assholes. That's not true. You know, I think that we need to be a little bit more fair to the men out there, that there are a lot of really, really good men out there as well. And I feel blessed to be married to one. But I think that, you know, we have to be willing to like go back out there and try again. And I think that's hard. I think making ourselves vulnerable to other people is really, really hard, you know? somebody reached out to me recently and they said they watched this channel and that they were going through a breakup. It was a relationship, and it was a kind of a short relationship, but it didn't last, and they were really like profoundly affected even though it was a short relationship. And I totally understand that, you know, like and they were asking me for a recommendation for a book, and I don't know that I know the greatest book, you know. Whenever anybody asks me for book recommendations about relationships, I always say Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. Just because I think it really helps us learn who we are. Like, I think in relationships, as far as like how to get over relationships, I think the takeaway is maybe take a look at who we are in the who we were in that relationship and what we can learn from that. Allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough with ourselves to say, really, who could I have been in this relationship? Or what could I have done differently? Not that I could have done differently to say that, because maybe that relationship wasn't meant to be. It might not have been meant to be, you know, but who could I have been differently? What can I take away? What can I learn from this relationship? And I don't think that all men are assholes is a lesson. I just don't, okay? I think maybe, you know, looking at red flags, things like that, you know, or, you know, whatever. If we're getting into relationships that maybe don't feel healthy from the start, and then we continue to stay in them anyway, like maybe like that's something we need to take a look at. But, you know, it was such a nice message that this person sent me. And I've really been thinking about it before responding, and maybe it's a whole video that I'll do. I don't know. I just think that getting over relationships are so hard, you know, and I think that, you know, talk about being courageous. I think in being courageous is going through a breakup of a relationship, whether that's a friend or a romantic relationship, and then allowing yourself to put one foot in front of the other. I always tell people, no matter how short the relationship was, give yourself 6 months to a year to get to know yourself, because you've changed over the course of that relationship. That's not any wisdom that I had. That was what my first sponsor told me. You know, give yourself a year. 6 months to a year, he said. And I did. And I think that it was really important for me to have that time to myself to get to know myself, and to really learn to love myself, you know, at that time. And I think it's important. I think it's important to take that time. So many people that I know jump right back into relationships, and I have been that at times. I mean, you know, I'm somebody that's attracted to monogamy, so I just want to get in one relationship after another, and that's what I've done in my life, you know. It was funny because I met this guy probably, well, it was in between my ex and Alex, and I saw him out, and he asked me out on a date, and we went out on a date, and he said to me, he goes, I always wanted to date you. We were friends when we were younger, and he said, I always wanted to date you when you were younger, but you always had a boyfriend. And I said, I didn't always have a boyfriend. He goes, you literally always had a boyfriend. He was like, for 3 years, you always had a boyfriend. And I was like, I always had a boyfriend. Yeah, I always did, you know, like. And I think that what I really learned by that time that I took to myself was that I am not defined by my partner. I don't need to be in a relationship to make me happy or to validate me or to give me acceptance. I love my husband. He is my partner in life, and he accentuates my life, but he is not my life. And you know, I think that that's important for us. And, you know, when we were going through marriage counseling at the beginning, when things were not great, I had to say to myself, you will be okay even if this marriage doesn't make it. And only when I could get to the point, like, even if you're in the greatest, I mean, I know this today, and our relationship is fine, it's fantastic, you know? But I know that if this marriage doesn't make it, I will be okay. And I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that because I wasn't courageous enough to allow myself to be vulnerable with those feelings of fear of, what if this relationship doesn't make it? Well, what if this relationship doesn't make it? Then Peter's going to be single and you'll figure it out and it's going to be okay, right? And I think, like, there was so much fear attached to, like, what would it be like if he wasn't in my life anymore? I don't know. I don't want to really have to, like, figure that out today. But I do know that I'm going to be just fine. And if you're going through a breakup, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. And what you're going through, your feelings, your emotions, and everything are completely normal. They're how you should be feeling, you know? I love when people say, where you're at is exactly where you're supposed to be. I love that. I love that because whenever I'm having, like, a tough day, I look at it and I think to myself, I am exactly where I need to be today. I was supposed to feel this way. Maybe I didn't know that at the time when I woke up and I was in a crappy mood, But down the road, later in the day or 3 weeks later, like I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, I knew that I was supposed to feel that way, so that I could like kind of work through that, you know. This video today, this video is all over the place, isn't it? But anyway, I think that's a good one. I think maybe I'll do a whole video about breakups. If you would like that, put that in the comment section below and let me know. And I'll kind of like look through my books and see if I have any that are connected to what to do when you go through a breakup. So anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about those meditations. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.